because like I saw a commercial or a trailer, like some type of TV spot of Spider-Man, like the one that Canon was making, and then they canceled it.
Within this unsuspecting city, history's greatest experiment creates tomorrow's greatest superhero. Spider-Man, the movie. A live-action spectacular directed by Joe Zito, based on the characters created by Stan Lee.
So Canon back in the mid 80s, I mean, it was a terrible time for Marvel, but Canon,
Oh yeah.
Canon had stepped in and they were just trying to get money where they could. And so Canon bought the movie rights to Spider-Man and to Captain America. And Marvel had actually offered them all sorts of, basically like everyone. Yeah. And for a song, for like not much, not like, I mean, considering what's worth now, no one could predict that, but yeah. Canon just didn't think. They're like, oh, there was already a Hulk movie. They kind of considered that, but then the rest of them, they're like, nobody wants to see this stuff. So they ended up just buying those two. But Canon originally was going to be a Tobe Hooper project. There's always the story that goes around a lot is that when Menachem bought Spider-Man, he didn't know what Peter Parker, he didn't know the whole mythology of he never read the comic. Oh, Menachem Gone, when he bought this, when he signed the money, he thought Spider-Man was like Teen Wolf, like something like that, like a really? Teenager who turned into a giant spider, which would explain why probably why dumbass. He would have put Tobe Hooper on it really fast.
Exactly. That makes sense.
But they got around. I mean, obviously it was working with Marvel at that point, and they had the scripts that existed and that were made were much more the Peter Parker story we've seen on film several times now at this point. But Canon, yeah, they went through several directors for a while. Albert Pune was going to direct it. One of the things that since we're actually showing something is they actually produced crew jackets. Like the movie never went into production, but it's got a Delta Force 2 emotional.
Hey, that works either way.
That's cool.
That's awesome though.
But yeah, so this is a crew jacket for a movie they never end up making. But yeah, copyright 19, or is the copyright on there? Yeah, well, it's got the copyright by Marvel Comics, all rights reserved, Canon logo. But yeah, like some of the executives at Canon got them. I'm sure Tobe Hooper probably got one, and some of the Marvel higher ups.
That's awesome.
Received these jackets to celebrate the deal, and of course the movie never materialized. Things just sort of in development hell for a while, and then Canon they collapsed very spectacularly by the end of the end of 86 and early 7.
I want to say it seriously. Did someone actually think that Spider-Man or Peter Parker transformed into a tarantula or some shit?
That's what I hear.
Listen,
Menachem.
that makes my skin crawl because I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I mean, they got the character for so cheap too, which is
what?
Which is
how for how much?
Gosh,
much?
I don't know the numbers offhand. I have to go in some notes, but okay. It was a song. But they've got here. There's American Ninja. I'm looking for this side.
This Captain is America.
An ad for their Captain America.
That looks cool.
They had tried to do that for a few years, so that was. I'm just seeing who at this one. At this point, it was being written by the same screenwriter as Revenge of the Ninja. James Silk. He also wrote Sahara for Canon. He wrote a bunch of stuff. There's no director attached to this one, but originally he was Michael Winner was attached for a long time, which he's famous for the Death Wish movies. Would have been interesting to see his version of Captain That would
have been interesting.
Yeah, for a little while, it was David Engelbach was offered, who had written the movies over the top. He had written the original draft of Death Wish 2, and he directed America 3000, which is a crazy, goofy canon post-apocalyptic movie. And he had told me his idea was that canon, he didn't think the Captain America script they had could be made on a canon budget. And I have right here another piece of Captain America ephemera. This is one of their proposals, along with the ads and such. They would send these things out and try to get people to invest in the movies. But so this one is the Stephen Tolkien draft, directed by John Stockwell, who was an actor. He was in Top Gun. He was in Dangerously Close for Canon, and he ended up making his directing debut on Undercover, which is a '87 Canon movie. But yeah, and then eventually, when Menachem split from Canon, he went to 21st Century Pictures, and he got the rights to Captain America. Those came with him, and they made it there in 1990 with Albert Pune as the director. They had actually been building sets in the old Dino De Laurentiis studios down in the Carolinas, and so they had the sets for Spider-Man. The whole idea was that they were going to, and this is such a typical canon story, is they were going to shoot the beginning of Spider-Man with like the weak Peter Parker, teenager, weakling. They were then going to break to shoot Masters of the Universe 2, which they were going to do basically in the same place, same director, Albert Pune.
Yeah.
And while they were shooting that for however many weeks, the Spider-Man actor was just going to get extremely jacked. He was just going to work out as hard as he could. And then when they came back to shoot the rest of the scenes, they would shoot him as a Spider-Man, and he would have some like muscle from this sort of like hardcore working out. But the checks to Mattel, the check to Marvel all bounced, and Canon was basically crumbling. So they didn't have the right, they couldn't make those movies anymore. And
so we were supposed to get a roided up Spider-Man.
Well, I probably.
Oh, that would have been epic.
I mean, I don't know how they would make that transformation without some steroid help. And this was the '80s. They would,
he would have been jacked.
Yeah,
that would have been freaking amazing though.
But so what happened was Canon, you had these sets that they started building for Cyborg. You have these costumes leftover from the first Masters and Masters 2. And they didn't know. They're like, oh, let's try to recoup some of these losses. So Albert Pune went down there and banged out the draft for Cyborg super fast. And Van Damme was somebody that they had just done Bloodsport with, and they had an option with him to do another movie, and he chose the Cyborg script. So that's why when you're watching Cyborg, if you see the main bad guy played by Vincent Klin, the main villain, he's got the chainmail. If you look closely at that chainmail, there's a character in the original Masters Universe named Blade, played by Anthony DeLongis. And he's like Skeletor's henchman. He's wearing the same chainmail vest. It's the exact same costume. They're just reusing it for both, because like all the costumes that were left over from Masters got shipped out to do Masters 2. And that's why also in Cyborg, you have these scenes. If you look in the back of some of the battles, especially the really rainy, wet battle, the famous one where Van Damme's kicking around in the water, you can see it kind of looks like New York City, like a fake little, like very quaint New York City. Yeah. And that was because those were the sets that they were starting to build for the Daily Bugle.
Oh, really? So, that's crazy. So that you can spot Spider-Man sets in Cyborg. So that's pretty cool. So
Master Universe costumes.
That's cool.